everybody to the show. We have an awesome guest on today. We have Michael Pereira. He's a father and he's an autism advocate who specializes in insurance planning and provides invaluable resources for families navigating the complexities of special needs. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
Hey, it's a pleasure. All right, let's first start off by doing this. Let's tell our audience kind of what they may gain from this show today, just big picture.
I would say maybe to think outside the box I would say as a parent. Sometimes we believe that we're alone in this journey. We go through survival mode to autopilot mode to protection mode, and I truly believe that this podcast or this episode should at least embrace it and help them understand that they're not alone.
Love that. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's first start off by letting the people know your personal journey, right? Let's learn a little bit about you.
Of course, of course. So I came from corporate America. I was traveling, I would say 70, 80% of the time for years. I think almost 10 years. Throughout that period, the American dream, got married, bought a house, had my first child, Christian Omar. And throughout that time, after he was born, we started noticing some symptoms. But obviously, as many parents, we were in denial. Plus, at the same time, in some cases, our family would say, "Hey, don't worry. You were the same. He doesn't have anything." And at the end of the day, imagine that being in denial, but at the same time getting that advice, usually procrastinates us to look for any type of early intervention. So that's how we started there when we saw those symptoms. But COVID came by, was able to stay here, not travel anymore, and though a lot of those symptoms reduced. Maybe because I was here, maybe because I'm a little bit more stricter than my wife, but a lot of those symptoms reduced. So our denial, I would say, even was a little bit more confirmed. But then when COVID released, that I started traveling again, or looking for another employer to see if I can do the same thing traveling less. That's where we notice a lot of those symptoms come back, and even with full force, tippy toeing, aligning, hitting his head against the wall. And it came to a point that we knew we needed help. He was taking speech therapy at that moment. Um, we couldn't take advantage of the therapy sessions because if it was half an hour, 45-minute sessions, half of it with a meltdown, the other 5 minutes just trying to calm him down, and 10 minutes or 15 was the therapy, and we were not taking advantage. So long story short, we just tried to seek help. He got diagnosed, and that's where at that point, us as a family, we started making adjustments. Like I mentioned, started looking for other employers, at the same time looking for financial advisors, financial planners, if you will, to be able to see if what's happening. I don't know if Christian, by the time he's 18 or older, he can make a decision by himself, or there's a lot of questions that we ask, and nobody seemed to really guide me. Everybody just wanted to sell me something or recruit me, and I just became very frustrated. And even though I was already in the financial services, I just had that conversation with my wife, parted ways with my employer. I wasn't in the right mindset, and just said, you know what, let me see if I can do this to help parents like families like ours. So I created a blog, thinking about education first, like just showing value, topics any parent would ask. And yeah, and the services I do offer is insurance planning, but at the end of the day, the blog was created just to share information that I think that's out there. It's too much information. Sometimes it's too overwhelming. You go to all these platforms, there's a lot of information. You don't know where to start. So I just again created the blog for that motive. And if at the time any parent would like to talk about their financial, I would say, current state, hopefully they remember about us. But at the end of the day, the blog is for families, created by a parent for parents.
That's awesome. What a journey that has been. It's been, like you said, in denial. and then leaving a corporate job. What was that like? Was that scary at all?
Very scary. Um, but at the end of the day, I think it depends how you see it. There's a lot of people that see it risky. There's a lot of people that don't see it. At that point, I did, but at the end of the day, then talking to my inner circle, I would say, which you do need a support system when you have this type of topic or happening in your family. I remember one of the executives that was one of my friends at one point told me that, hey, do you find it are you looking for a job? I said, yes and no when I left, right? And then she says to me, okay, well, do you find it risky that you took the leap? I said, of course. And you find a job like security? I said, of course, because obviously I'm getting the every 15 days a check. And then I just recall she told me, so you're telling me that you are putting job security for somebody who can determine when you take vacation, when you do everything, and you find it risky when you have control of everything. And that just changed my mindset, and continue to without quitting, without looking back, trying to do this motive because there's a bigger why than I can even see.
I love that. Tell me about your why.
I think it's obviously my family's first, creating that impact, that knowing that I'm doing something not only for my family, which is again my why, but helping other families that I think they're overwhelmed. Again, I mentioned it earlier, we go through a lot of modes, I would say: survival mode, autopilot mode, protection mode, and at the end of the day, we focus so much on the child that sometimes we lose focus on ourselves. And I would say a lot of these topics crosses over to also mental health for the parents because there's so much stress in some cases that you lose focus of yourself, and I believe that this transcends to parents. Again, we focus too much again on the child, and we lose focus. And for example, the other day I got to the supermarket and I turned off the car. I was saying this to a couple of people, and I called Ellie, my wife, and I said, hey, I don't remember how I got here. Like, I know I was there. It was
Yep.
very close to my house, but I don't recall turning the light, going through the neighborhood. I just knew I got there, and that's where the autopilot mode. You just do things, and you're doing it because you're already used to it. But I was such in a mindset of all these topics I'm having in my mind that I really didn't remember how I got there. So going through that type of mode, going through survival mode, you don't know if the school's going to call because your son eloped or something. I think just now I found this type of balance. I would say that my why extends to just help parents understand that they're not alone. Nobody's left behind. But I truly believe that helping parents and guide them in this type of situation, I think it's a true blessing.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So your why, I believe, ties into what you do now, the Autism Voyage.
Hmm.
Tell me how you are supporting other parents with that, and tell me what the Autism Voyage is. This is
Of course.
awesome.
The Autism Voyage is a blog and a newsletter. So it I would say it divides in three categories. The first one is daily living, then we have life planning, and then we have the another category which I call the entrepreneur. So the life planning is just talking about articles or blog posts about any type of topic from haircuts, martial arts for special needs, swimming, topics around that again any parent would ask or just look at that type of search at 2 a.m. 3 a.m. because that's when I would look for it. um, then we have life planning, which is a category that talks about everything around life insurance, trust, guardianship, which are very serious topics, but at the end of the day it's not talked often. And then we have entrepreneur, which is a category which I would say tries to motivate parents to seek skills. Something that I've seen a lot is that we can fall very easy into the victim mentality. That's not supposed to be that way. At the end of the day, having a child with any need, it's a blessing, and we need to at some point, sometime adjust and not depend on any. That's my point of view. Just not depend on any government or anything. You should develop some sort of skill that you can buy your time back. For example, me in our case, our son has 28 hours of therapy a week, ABA, and Amanda has another couple hours in speech. It's very difficult to carry a 9 to 5 job. So what I truly believe in this category is to just highlight some possible side hustles or something that again a parent can just read about and hopefully get motivated to develop those skills and understand that even though we have a tendency to fall in the victim mentality and always seek help and resources, but at the end of the day, we have everything we need to be able to develop skills and be able to make a good income and to seek entrepreneurship or whatever you want to call it to be able to sustain your family.
These are great. I actually want to dive a little bit more into these if you don't mind.
Of
The
course.
first one you said was called What Again Life What?
Daily living is the first category. The second one is life planning, and the third one is entrepreneur. Instead
So
of
give me some
entrepreneur, is all with the autism. Right?
gotcha. Oh, that makes sense then. Entrepreneur. Okay, got it. I was thinking like an author.
No.
That makes sense now.
Okay.
Okay. So daily living, give me some examples from there. Like, I know you said 3 in the morning thinking about stuff. So is this kind of like getting your kids in sports? Is it just getting them
Yeah. For
activities? What does that
example,
look like?
of course. There's topics that music therapy. It talks about the benefits of music therapy. It talks about um, haircuts, maybe understanding and just highlight sensory tips or practical insights to be able to. For example, there's an article that talks about haircuts and gives you insights of how to prepare before and after. Um, Talks about ABCs of swimming. There's a lot of rates increasing in fatalities of obviously kids that possibly elope and end up in a water situation.
Mhm.
So those type of topics are the ones that I truly believe that are important and try to incorporate it in a blog post, even though the blog post could sound generic, but at the end of the day, it's a good way of just having some insight, right?
Right. Having the information out there.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. And then how about our life planning? Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, life planning talks about, for example, the other day I just made one for like 7 reasons why you should consider life insurance. A lot of people think about life insurance as a transactional effort, and that's fine because you do have to do the transaction. But a lot of people don't consider, for example, using life insurance to fund a special needs trust. Many families don't think about using life insurance when taking out a life insurance. Are they considering a possible guardian? Like, for example, if somebody's going to assume responsibility for that child, are you taking into consideration that that person might need an income because now they need to adjust their lifestyle to be able to assume responsibility? Um, so it's not just getting a life insurance and that's it, right? You gotta think outside the box. And again, in my case, I do insurance planning, Brian. But at the end of the day, there's no secret sauce. There's no secret products. Social media can tell you a lot of things, but at the end of the day, there's nothing secret. It's just having a conversation. And for example, for me, it's not just buying a policy. You're acquiring a strategy because I make you think outside the box. Something that you also see in life planning is I talk a lot about in disability income insurance. And again, I don't want to go into the products, but just in general. Why? Because, for example, Christian, he depends on us 100% of the time, and I don't know until when. So, what if I get cancer? What if I get a stroke? It's very difficult to be able to manage a family by itself. Imagine having a child that depends on you and your income is interrupted. So it's about having that conversation because there's a lot of agents that talk about, hey, if you get a life insurance and you pass away, your family's going to get this. Yeah, but what if you don't pass away? What if you get sick? What if you're
Mm,
disabled? You know, those type of topics are the ones that I try to reflect on the life planning category.
that's huge. I don't think most people are thinking about what you said. Just that perfect example of like one, that disability, something happens to you, we just assume we're going to be healthy. And two, if something does happen to you, who's going to take care of your child and the resources that they need?
Yeah,
So that is very informative. Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that.
Of course, and as just the I seen on the top. So another area which I'm writing about in the next couple weeks. You're getting the exclusive on this. So I'm
Okay.
going to also write about long-term care. That's a topic that's very, I would say, near and dear to our hearts because it talks about, again, going back to disability. If Christian depends on me 100% and something happens to me now, perfect. But later on, and again, just using as my son as an example, we don't know if by the time he's an adult he might be able to make a decision by himself. We believe so. We're doing everything we can for him to be independent. But what if not? Here in the United States, there's a lot of assisting living facilities, nursing homes, and they're becoming very expensive. So imagine
That's
you
right.
having a child that may be disabled or cannot make it, and you need help on the later years, right? How are you going to pay for it? So that's another strategy that we can work on. That basically, it's you got to start early, obviously, as soon as you can, so you can accumulate enough for when you need it at your 70s, 80s, 90s. At least you have that cushion because if not, it's going to be very difficult finding somebody who can take care of you, but at the same time, you need to pay these high fees. So again, everything I'm expressing is because I think about it, right, as a father.
I see. As far as specific, like state specific, and the people you work with and consult with, does the state matter, or is anyone, or can you kind of work with anybody, or is it vary from place to place?
Well, at the end of the day, it's insurance. As an agent, you get appointed with different type of with different states. So it really doesn't matter in that sense. Now, when it's more complicated topics that surpass insurance tools or products, then I would refer or to a planner or to a wealth manager or that's above my license, you know. But just to build a foundation and having, yeah, an insurance agent can cater to that.
Okay. And then the last part of this, I like this, the entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Um, tell us more about that, because I really love that you're empowering families, because I think that is huge, right? Typical 9 to 5 doesn't work for most people, and here in Arizona, we're kind of having some legislation that's kind of preventing parents from being caregivers. That, so yeah. Anyways, give me more insight on ideas from there, because I'm sure you got some ideas for you
yeah,
for us.
yeah. Well, again, I truly believe in not falling into the victim mentality. I fell in that at the beginning, my wife as well. It's very easy to fall in there, like, and we just decided, at the end of the day, nobody's coming to save you. At the end of the day, everything's going to get more expensive. You're going to have less. We everything's that's happening, for example, in Congress or everything. It makes it very difficult to be able to trust a source of income that you don't produce it, right? So that's where obviously I took the lead because of entrepreneurship. I said, at the end of the day, one, I want to help the families like mine, but at the end of the day, I want to be here at home. I want to be present. It was years that I was traveling. I wasn't home. I didn't me being I wasn't in a lot of birthdays. I would say I was always traveling. A lot of important dates I wasn't here. So I just said, you know what? In order to be here, I need to produce an income for myself and manage my time, buy my time back. So this category talks about, hey, develop skills. It could be on. pet sitting, it can be around online tutoring, it can be around getting a certificate. Even my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and then she became an RBT, and now she's in the university because she wants to be a either a BCBA or something else. But at the end of the day, we're putting in the work because we know that at the end of the day, those skill sets are the only ones who are going to help us just progress. So this category talks about a guide how to become an RBT, top 5 side hustles for families with special needs, just in general. Because at the end of the day, we believe again that you shouldn't depend on anybody, only on yourself. And you have any family has anything they need to be able to do that.
That's great. I think everyone has something to offer in this
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
whether it's our kids and our parents. And sometimes we get so caught up, I think, in just the way society says we could do it. There's so many other ways to,
Yeah.
showcase what you have,
Yeah.
especially with the internet today.
Exactly.
So, community. Tell me about community and community building, what that means to you.
I would say it's a safe space for families to be able to just vent, be able to talk about issues, and that's why one of the things, aside from the blog, I did create a newsletter, and that this newsletter is trying to, create this type of community that again be more interactive. We're going to start doing webinars, we're podcasts like yours. We want to get word out to the community that there's nothing like not only talking about these topics, but I think professionals and parents who already understand these type of topics is so valuable. This is a very underserved community. There's not that, and I see that as time passes, more people are coming in just because of the business reasons. And I truly believe that if you're doing this from authentic, being authentic, having empathy, and truly putting value in front of families, this community can get tighter, it can get better, more resourceful. So yeah, that's why I created the newsletter, and that's my definition of community because I truly believe we can do it.
Yes, takes a village to raise a child, and I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
So going forward, I appreciate everything you shared with us. Going forward, what do you see the vision for an autism village? Is it going to kind of just build on what you have, or anything else coming up?
I think for now it's just just being consistent, being able consistent, providing value, trying to grow the community as we can. Um, Having this curiosity, sense of curiosity to continue to understand what the market, or not market, the community wants and needs, write about those topics, and being able again to to be a resource for them. Um, Going forward again, I just believe being consistent, everything will fall into place. Um, and being able to connect like people like you, man. At the end of the day, you're doing an amazing job. And this is the type of action we need.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I see, and now going back on one of the questions, hey, something that I do want to cater to is the common mistakes that I see um, with parents, and one of the mistakes I would say I see a lot is gotta watch out who you listen to. That's something very important, and maybe you had another question, but I just want to highlight this because it did happen to me. Again, going back to when I was in denial and listening to the advice of family, hey, don't worry. I think that's something that at the end of the day, as parents, one of the mistakes I do see is not going directly to a professional. I think that listening to professionals who've been doing this for years and do it in and out, I think it's very important. Even though my mother-in-law or whoever has, or my mom or whatever family has the best intention, doesn't mean that they know about the topic. It can happen in occupational, it can happen in whatever therapy, and sometimes there's tasks that you have to do in the house, and just always go to the professional. Always seek guidance from the professionals. That's a mistake I see too common, and it's good to express that because, again, there's nobody aside from the mother, the father, the professional also wants the best interest for the child. So I did want to say that. I didn't want to cut you off, but I did want to express that.
I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's twofold. I think, yeah, going to professional helps, and also try to empower parents. Trust your own intuition as well. So that balance, right?
Of
Of,
course.
hey, you're their expert, but also use professionals as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing, I truly I see that a lot because, again, when I say seek guidance is because there are tactics, there are techniques, there are stuff that we don't know as parents. And we even fell for that at the beginning. At the end of the day, they're therapists. They're here to help you empower your children. They're not nannies, but they're here to help you empower. And at the end of the day, I think it's a team collaboration, right? Communication is everything. Being able to be present, being able to communicate what's happening, because at the end of the day, something that happens to us, therapy truly begins after the therapist leaves. So,
Haven't heard that. I like it.
yeah.
All right. How do people find you and reach out to you?
Um, this website is www.theautismvoice.com. There you're gonna see a possibly pop up to sign up for the newsletter, and yeah, you can find me there. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just my last name M Pereira FL. That's my username. But I'm very active on LinkedIn. Usually I don't use much Instagram or Facebook, but you can find me there.
Okay, awesome. And before we finish up, can you provide one message just for our audience and family members to leave off with?
One message. I would say movement brings clarity. As you move in any type of objective or goal, as you move, you start weed out what doesn't work. And just don't stay still waiting for anybody. Just move. Just continue to move in the right place that you will get clarity.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Michael, and I will share all your resources and everything on our podcast.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thanks.
Take care.
Okay, good stuff.